Lunara versus Jaina.
You asked for it. The forest fights back.
I guess I'll keep the greedy sprite. Not really sure about the sprite in this deck. Also not sure about keeping the twig, because if this is aggro mage, it's definitely not a good card. But if he's control mage, it's a pretty good thing to have.
Reality.
Wow, really?
This is good.
I guess when I consider all the druid decks, that thing can't be that useful against very many of them, right? Polymorph just beats taunt druid. Although I guess I wouldn't mind getting some armor out of that to go along with it. Blizzard. Try to keep that in mind, but we'll definitely forget by the time turn 6 rolls around. But yeah, I wanted to claw that guy so he didn't just have an easy way to deal with this. He would be forced to hero power or trade off something bigger. Polymorph and Blizzard in hand. Time to get this weapon going. Okay.
I appreciate your efforts.
I'll take the turn 5 Ultimate Infestation. So I do have to keep in mind he has a Blizzard. Probably want to also play around Meteor if I can. I don't really want to just take this trade, so I'm probably going to swipe here. And then maybe just go like Hench-Clan Hero Power and Dire Mole.
This'll be good.
So Blizzard doesn't kill any of my stuff. Like, it's still kind of good to set up for other stuff. Or it even just allows him to hero power this guy next turn. But the Meteor is... well, the Meteor doesn't kill my Thug, at least. Or he has to choose between the Thug and the Ghoul Infester. Sure. I assume that was always a clear. Coins out of Doomsayer. So if I want to develop, I can play Keeper of the Grove here. I think I do want to get some stuff in play. So do I just want to go Keeper of the Grove and a big Spiteful Smith? Or Keeper, Keleseth, and Chain Gang? Keeper, Keleseth, Chain Gang is a little bit weak to Blizzard. I still have two 2/1s that survive. This play is a little bit weaker to the Polymorph I know he has in hand. I guess I could also just go like Keeper, Chain Gang, and not play Keleseth, but that seems bad. I'm just gonna play stuff here. I guess technically I should have gone Chain Gang and then put the other two in the middle for Meteor. But probably a pretty small thing. I have to imagine the Blizzard's coming down here. There goes my Claw. Wow, he didn't even decide to AoE this board. So I have 18 damage with Savage Roar. 19 if I want. That 19 sets up for an Ultimate Infestation lethal next turn. I can even rush this to kill this. I mean, I guess I just take it, right?
The rage. It claims me. This'll be good.
So he needs like the second Arcane Artificer plus AoE here.
What to do? What to do?
Dead to Ultimate Infestation. I liked the part where he played the 3/3 that gave me 4 mana.
Lunara
I don't see much reason to hold the claw. I guess it is good against like Direwolf Alpha or something. Probably just end up coining this thing out next turn. If it lives, it gets to smack him. If he kills it, then it gives me mana. I'll just push the 1. I think this is actually pretty unlikely to die, so maybe I'll just do this next turn, or maybe it's just Hero Power Mole goes into this anyway.
Let the pain speak to me.
Alright, well, can't let that thing get too many draws. We'll just do this. Sure, let's make a 4/4.
This will be good.
Send the hero power in here. That way if he goes in here I can kill it with just Twig, or just hero power, play Chain Gang, or if he like, I don't know, somehow kills this some other way, then I can just Twig hero power into it. Doesn't have an answer to my guy. No taunt totem, please. Well, I think Swipe is cool here. Keeper of the Grove kind of does the same thing. Chain Gang kind of does the same thing. Well, what's important is I'm doing that, and then deciding between Keeper of the Grove and Chain Gang. It's just gotta be Chain Gang, right?
How long can this go on?
What to do?
Truth is found in death.
Hopefully some low rolls on those taunts. Ooh, nice low roll on the Hench-Clan Thug at least. Can swipe to definitely protect my Thug if I want. Or I can chance leaving one of these guys up to go Keeper of the Grove. I think it's pretty obvious he doesn't have a way to deal the 1 to this. So let's just go Keeper of the Grove. Probably slightly more scared of Zola because of Grumble shenanigans. Probably doesn't really matter too much though.
How long can this go on? How long can this go on?
Alright, so swipe plus Twig or hero power. I guess I'll just go Twig.
This will be good.
Have to trade off my keeper either way. Hench-Clan Thug getting in there. You might have to Volcano it.
How long can this go on? How long can this go on?
Healing Rain. But he doesn't deal with my guy, so that's good.
How long can this go on? How long?
I'm just gonna buff my guys. Makes my taunts big enough to contest a Chain Gang. And I'm gonna be drawing cards with these Ultimate Infestations anyway.
Engaging TC-130 into dislocator.
Well, that was the worst one by a lot, so happy to see that.
There is little time.
Ooh, that's bad. Well, luckily I have this Ultimate Infestation hand.
This will be good.
Been holding on to that Life Drinker for a while.
To me.
Decides he has to trade, happy to see that.
I must safeguard.
Let's drop a Silence there. Hench-Clan Thug. Play some 1/2s and claw into this guy. Twig's on 1, so next turn can be, what, Druid of the Claw, Savage, or Swipe? Or maybe even Ultimate Infestation instead of Swipe. Agatha. Damn. I need to find a way to make another board. And he froze my Twig. Man, he hard countered my entire turn. But he can only keep me frozen for so long. Could just play a couple taunts here. It's actually pretty reasonable. But I think Ultimate Infestation is just the play. Then hopefully I can do some board flooding next turn. So I can go double Druid of the Claw Savage Roar. Good chance I can pick up a second Savage Roar or Branching Paths this turn.
Wake once more.
Alright, so double Druid of the Claw is 8. Hit with the weapon. So 9. Savage Roar plus this is 10.
What if?
The circle of life is over. Truth is found in death.
I think there's a chance I was supposed to break the twig and play 2 5-drops there. I'm not entirely sure. I really want it to be lethal when I hit with the twig, but that might just not be realistic. Well, I don't hate that. Oh, I hate that. Damn it. Should have got my value last turn. Consider me upset.
They are banned
The rage. It claims
a path dimly lit.
Wow. What a turn from the opponent.
Where shall I strike?
There's a good chance he has his second Volcano here, but then I can play a few more minions next turn. I guess I could have even just Savage Roared here instead of playing the Greedy Sprite. Could have set him to 9. That's probably worth it. Swipe Claw Hero Power is 9. But he still has a Healing Rain as well, right? X number 2. Healing Rain.
I'm almost out of cards.
the rage.
I think I'm just going wide. I'm gonna drop the Roar here. I'm guaranteed to draw another Roar next turn anyway. So I can either go Druid of the Claw Roar or Roar Branching Paths. This is kind of a lot into his second Volcano. Like he didn't have it.
I'm out of cards.
So this is obviously lethal. Only 10 over. My final record with this deck ended up being 18-8. Obviously a little bit worse than the 14-2 that I started with, but still pretty respectable and honestly probably not sustainable. I didn't end up changing any cards, but there are obviously a few things that can be looked at. Spiteful Smith is obviously just a straight up meme card, probably doesn't warrant an inclusion. There are a lot of things you could put here, maybe like a Stranglethorn Tiger, Leroy Jenkins could be pretty good, Fungalmancer probably makes a lot of sense in this deck. But I think I would be leaning toward a Cobalt Scalebane. You tend to have things on the board for it, it's not that terrible of a play on its own, just seems like a pretty solid card. Another thing you can look at is the Keeper of the Grove. The thing to obviously compare it to is the more popular Spellbreaker. There are pros and cons to which one you play. I found that the 2 damage was coming in handy fairly often, but it's possible that the Spellbreaker is just a better card. Another thing to consider is the Greedy Sprite. Obviously it has a really powerful Death Rattle, but it's a 3-mana 3/1, and that doesn't really help your aggressive curve to follow up your Dire Mole and then your Prince Kaliseth. And it's not like we're really ramping into anything super specific like a Spiteful Summoner. Like yeah, playing Ultimate Infestation earlier is pretty nice, but even that's like 6 turns off of this Greedy Sprite. probably not really worth the tempo loss on turn 3. So I think I would like to get something with slightly better stats in here. So the thing I'm looking at is Vicious Fledgling. Obviously, it's a card that sees a lot of play, it's pretty strong, it can just win games on its own, so I think I like the Flappy Bird. Also, it has some slight Wind Fury synergy with Savage Roar, which could be cool. And I think given what the deck is, this is probably a pretty good list for it. But I have to say, I think the Hench-Clan Thug and the Twig of the World Tree were probably some of the worst cards in the deck. The Twig obviously has terrible stats as a weapon, so you lose a lot of tempo, a lot of aggression when you actually play it. Obviously you can make powerful plays late in the game, but I don't know if that necessarily makes up for just throwing away all of your tempo. And then we look at the Hench-Clan Thug. We do have consistent ways to buff it, but it costs a lot of mana, and it's kind of a bummer that you can't play this on turn 3 as a 4/4, which is really one of the reasons that it's such a good rogue card. So even though these are the two cards that the deck is built around, I think they are two of the worst. And if your goal is to win games, I think they are cuttable. And it feels kind of weird to say that, given that the deck is built around these cards, and that I was actually pretty successful. But I think the main takeaway is that Savage Roar is a hell of a Hearthstone card. We see this card played in Token Druid, but I think there's some merit to playing it in a list that doesn't just get destroyed by Defile. So if you look over at the deck tracker instead of the in-game list, I've been trying this version over here, which doesn't play the Thug or the Weapon or the Claws. Basically it just tries to be a little bit less gimmicky and a little bit more competitive. I don't know that I would necessarily recommend this exact list, I'm still toying around with like Fungalmancer and Spreading Plague. But if your goal is just straight up winning games, rather than thugging people, I think this could be a consideration for a list. But it is pretty hard to argue with 18 and 8, so maybe Twig of the World Tree is just the nuts in this aggro deck.